So, good morning, everyone. In yesterday's session, it was our first session. We started with the basics of power system, where we discussed that what are the advantages, disadvantages of the interconnection of the power system, what are the problems that arise due to interconnection, and then we were here on the single line diagram of a power system. So, generally, the generation is done between 11 to 22 kV because it gives us the balance between most economical size of the conductor, cost of the insulation, and size of the machine. So we generally generate the power in the range of 11 to 22 kV. However, depending upon the further distance to which the power is need to be transmitted, we step up the voltage at generating station by a generator transformer. So this can be a 220 or 400 or 132 kV transformer secondary side. And the primary reason for stepping up the voltage is that the power transfer capacity of the line is in the square proportion of line voltage. Okay, let's say this is E at an angle delta, V at an angle 0, transfer reactance is X. So the power that we transmit over the line is in the square proportion of the voltage rating of the line, and as the voltage rating increases, the power transfer capacity increases in the square proportion. And remember that currently in India we have a 765 kV maximum transmission voltage available. Okay, now so it is the further there will be another substation. Let's say here it is a receiving end 220 kV substation, this is a sending end 220 kV substation. So again, for the distribution purpose, here we step down the voltage, and there will be further number of lines. So this is a 66 kV line terminating at a 66 kV substation. Okay, so it is 66 kV substation here, which are we call it as a distribution substation generally, where from 66 to 11 kV is step down, and this is called as the line. This is called as the feeder. For lower voltage rating, we use the word feeder. Terminology is feeder. For higher voltage rating, we use the terminology as a transmission line. So here it is a 11 kV feeder, which will terminate at our pole mounted transformer. You can see it nearby your home anywhere, okay, where the transformer is mounted over the pole. So incoming line to this PMT is 11 kV, and the secondary side is 415 volt 3-phase 4-wire distribution, okay, where per phase voltage is 230 volt, which is given to the consumers. Okay, so here the voltages may be different during this transmission system. So the current will flow from source to load in this fashion. Okay, so here we have available current at our end. Fine. Any doubt? So this bus bar that are shown here, those this bus bar are actually substations. Now remember, in SGP we will draw diagram generally like this. Let's say if I draw a diagram like this in future in upcoming sessions. So this is a source. This can be a 220 kV or 400 kV line substation between A to B. So this is A, B substation. This is B. This is B receiving end, substation C, and substation D, let's say. So here, this is substation A, means it will be an arrangement of all this, okay, together. Transformers and circuit breakers, bus bars, everything, but symbolically it is represented by single line. It is substation B, means it is arrangement with all the switch gears and auxiliaries at substation B. But in diagram, we are not for the sake of simplicity, we represent it with a very single line diagram. Okay. So suppose this is a 66 kV line connected between B and C. This is substation C. We are talking about the substation, and this is 11 kV feeder, and D is, let's say, PMP, and here there will be load. So remember, whenever I will consider such diagram with various bus bars A, B, C, D, or any number with generation and load, it will actually represent a power system with this kind of nature. Okay, where we do not show generally the transformers and breakers and everything, all other arrangements. It is just for a simplified diagram. We consider a single line diagram of the power system like this. Okay. Now, the next question is, how does power flow? For example, if I ask you, suppose this is a substation A, for example, substation B. It is a 220 kV line. So obviously the voltage here will be 220 kV of this bus bar. Voltage of this bus bar will also be around 220 kV, considering that voltage regulation is maintained properly, and that is why we can say that the power transfer is EV over X sine delta. So these two voltages of sending end and receiving end are generally nearly equal, and we know that power will flow only when there is a potential difference. So can anyone tell me how, why does the power flows over here over the line, although the sending end and receiving end voltages are nearly equal? There will be no significant potential difference between the two. So why does power flow over the line if there is no difference in the magnitude of the voltages? Any idea? Any idea? Do you understand the question? Question समझ में आया आप लोगों को? The question is that when a transmission line is connected between two bus bars, let's say it is a one substation at one end, after 100 kilometer there is another substation, and we have a 100 kilometer 220 kV line. So although the sending and receiving end voltages are nearly equal, why does the power flow over the line? Because there is no significant potential difference. Any reason? No. No, Viral. No, Naresh. No, Milan. We are talking, see, it is here, it is 66 kV, but it is on the other side of transformer. Again, it will be the same thing. Here it will be 66 kV. So for any line, when I say like this, see, the substation rating of this line will be same. Suppose it is a 220 kV line. Same thing will happen over here with 66 kV line, where the sending end and receiving end voltages will be same. And the 66 kV is on the other side of transformer. No, Bhavesh. No, Milan. The answer is very simple. No, basic flow is there, but we require some potential difference for the flow of current, which is not present here significantly. And in any case, when a line is connected between two substations, obviously the voltage rating of this two end will be same. We cannot have a line with, let's say here it is a 220 kV bus bar, and here it is a 66 kV bus bar. It is not a correct way. Okay, it is never a case where one end voltage and other end voltage of a line connecting a bus bars will be different. Okay, ऑलवेज दोनों साइड के जो वोल्टेज रेटिंग है, कोई भी लाइन अगर कनेक्टेड है सबस्टेशन में, तो ये दोनों साइड के बस बार के जो वोल्टेज है वो सेम होंगे, इररिस्पेक्टिव, कोई भी होगा, इट मे बी 400 kV, 220 kV, 66 kV, एनीथिंग. Okay, so the answer is very simple, in fact, and it is there on the screen. It is because of this delta. That is what we call as the load angle. Although, if you remember the phasor diagram of short, medium, and long transmission lines, have you studied it in PS2, EPS2? Phasor diagrams of short, medium, and long transmission lines. So you must be knowing this. It is because of the load angle delta. Although the voltages of two ends of line are equal, the power flows because of the angle delta, load angle delta between these two buses. And in AC transmission system, delta is responsible for the flow of the power. Because although the voltages are equal in AC system, the difference in the phase angle between two ends can also lead into flow of current. Do you remember the condition for synchronization? Just a moment. So do you understand that why does power flow? Okay, I think if you remember the condition for synchronization of two alternators, then there was a condition that phase must be same, phase angle of the particular phases also must be same. So even though the phase angle is not same between two phases, then there will be flow of current, and that is because of the difference in the angle. So this delta, load angle delta, is responsible for the power flow. You must be remembering the receiving end voltage, let's say lagging power factor. If we take the current load, then we add IR into R drop of the line, IR into X drop of the line, IR into Z total drop. So that is receiving end current into what? So this is Vs, this is Vr, and this angle is delta. And as the load increases on the line, this drop increases, and because of the increase in delta, let's say this is delta 1, delta 2. So P1 is Vs Vr X sine delta 1. And as the load on the line is increased, we know that the power will be more because delta increases. Okay, and you have studied stability. So stability is a concern of this delta, load angle delta. Okay, we cannot go beyond certain loading on the line. Otherwise, the rotor angle instability. You have studied the equal area criteria, and do you remember equal area criteria? Swing equation that is corresponding to this problem with delta. So we cannot load the line beyond certain value, so that load angle cannot be under normal condition. Load angle cannot be operated below certain value. Normally, it is kept below 30-40 degree. Although the maximum transmission power that we can get at delta equal to 90, which is we call as the steady state stability, but the transient stability is a concern, and that is why the load angle delta is generally not kept beyond 30 or 40 degree in normal operation. Okay, it is avoided. Understand? Clear? Any doubt in this point? Any doubt in this point, that how does power flow? What is load angle delta? Who introduces the load angle delta? It is because of the load. When you connect, there will be drop in the line, IR and IX drop, which results into the difference in the angle between sending and receiving end. Fine. Any doubt? Okay, fine. Thank you. So what is then, next question is, what is intended operation of power system? Intended operation of power system is that voltage at various points must remain within limits. We define the voltage regulation that it must be in transmission system, it must be within plus or minus 5%. So the voltages at each point in power system must stay within limits. Current must be less than the rated capacity, less than or equal to, we can say. Okay, and frequency, that is also kept within limits. This is what we want, and the generation and load must be balanced. Okay, active power generation must balance the active power demand and losses, and same way for the reactive power generation. If this happens, these things are maintained. Ultimately, there will be problem in this if there will be unbalance in this, if we know. Okay, so that is what is the intended operation of the power system, where we want all parameters of the power system within the prescribed limits. Now, what will happen to the power system sometimes? So then, as discussed earlier, uh, just a minute, as discussed earlier, we know that although we take utmost care in design, operation, maintenance, everything, still uh, there will be a chance of fault. So you have already studied about the faults. Okay. Can anyone define what do you mean by fault? What do you mean by fault? Anyone? Simple. What is the idea of your definition of fault? What is your understanding about electrical fault? Okay. How do you define it? Quickly. Yesterday, we received very good responses. So expecting, okay, Viral. Uh, I need to understand that what is your idea or concept of the fault, so that we can discuss it in detail in a fundamental way. You have studied, okay. I'm getting some of the responses. Good, okay. Ashok, your answer is partly correct. I would say, for the remaining answers, it is not correct actually. Anyone else? Okay, Aruna, very good. Your answer is correct. So let me define the fault. Fault is defined as flow of current to an undesired or unintended path. It is a very simple definition. You must remember now onwards that fault is defined as flow of current to an undesired or unintended path. Okay. Second thing, second part I will discuss later on. Or it is also defined as abnormal stoppage of current. So first, let us discuss about the flow of current to an undesired or unintended path. Then my question to you is that what is desired path? What is intended path for flow of current? What is desired or intended path? Very good, Viral. Anyone else? Your answer is absolutely correct. What is the desired or intended path for the current to flow? Anyone else? According to you, how should current flow? Okay, I'm just asking about the path, not electrical terminology. What is intended path for the current? What do we expect current to flow from to? वो कहां से कहां तक फ्लो होना चाहिए सिस्टम में? Very good, Apuru. Very good. Anyone else? Okay, Ashok, you are talking about DC system. We are talking about power system, which is a three-phase AC system. Okay, so I have two correct answers. The desired path or intended path is always from source to load. Current always must flow from source to load. This is the intended path, or we can say the desired path. Clear? Any doubt in this? So what do we do? Okay, Milan. Correct. So the desired path or intended path for the current is from source to load. So what do we do to keep current in this path? That it must flow from source to load through the conductors at different through the conductors of different equipments like the generators, transformers, transmission lines, motors, everything. So we provide insulation. We provide insulation so that current flow on its intended path. Okay, I'll briefly discuss about how do we do it. So you have studied the synchronous generator. Let's say, let me consider a salient pole machine. So here we have a field winding which is excited by DC supply, and on the outer periphery of the stator here, sorry, on the inner periphery of the stator here we have number of slots cut, and in these slots what do we do? We put phase conductors, armature winding. Now to isolate armature winding from the core, we provide insulation around the conductor. Okay, we provide insulation around the conductor. So even if we have a winding, even if we have a number of turns, let's say of a winding or a coil, for example, so each turn also insulated from each other. Have you seen any winding? We provide insulation around each turn like this. Okay, so that there is no short circuit. Fine. Clear? Any doubt? Just a moment. So likewise in transformer also we have winding where we insulate winding from the core uh, to which it is placed over. In transmission lines we use insulator string to isolate the phase conductor from the cross arm. This is called as the cross arm. I hope all of you must have seen the uh, windings and the towers in machines and in let's say transmission line. So this is a insulator string. This is a phase conductor, which is a live phase conductor. This is cross arm. Here we have grounded the body of the machine, or we can say body of the tower. Fine. So there are different types of insulators we have used so that we isolate phase conductors live parts from the rest part, we can say body of the machine. Okay, now what will happen when this insulation fails? When this insulation fails, punctures or anything, it may happen because of the overheating or sometimes stresses due to over voltages. Okay, aging effect, there are many reasons, defective design of the insulator string itself. So there are so many reasons due to which the insulation may fail. As insulation fails, what will happen? The phase conductor, which is at some potential, that will come in contact with the body, or maybe it comes in contact with the other phase conductor. Let's say we have a multi-layer winding where we have, let's say, 4 conductor per slot in machine, and there is an insulation between these two phase conductor, and it may happen that these two conductor may be of different phases even. Okay, you have not studied AC machine design. You will study that there may be two conductors of R phase, two conductors of, let's say, B phase in a single slot in a multi-layer winding. So what will happen if the insulation between these two phases fail? The two phases will come into contact and it will result into a line-to-line fault. Okay, so it is when the insulation in the system fails, current is diverted to another path. Let's say here, if this insulator string starts conducting, what will happen? Now current will flow from conductor through the insulator disc to ground, because this tower is grounded. So it is a line to ground fault. Likewise here, if the insulation fails between phase conductor and core, the current will flow through the body of the machine to ground. Okay, because generally, see, the body of the machine, we keep it earth for the safety reason. Otherwise, if it is not earth, what will happen? If there is an insulation failure, the phase conductor will come into contact with the body, and that potential is directly available at the body. If we have not grounded this, in case if there is a failure of insulation, then the phase conductor will come in contact with the body of the machine, and any person whoever touches this body will, the current will ground it through that person, and there may be severe shock. Okay, so for safety reasons, we generally earthing. That is what is the purpose of the earthing of the body of the machine, for the safety of the person and machine itself. Fine. So this is what, how, why the fault occurs. Okay, failure of insulation is the main reason. So that the current will be diverted to any other path for which it is not designed, or you can say abnormal stoppage of current. What is abnormal stoppage? That let's say there is a open conductor fault somewhere. Sometimes, let's say, the conductor is broken and the circuit has become open, or for example, it is a dead short circuit. So the all the current is flowing to the ground directly. Okay, there is nothing flowing to the load. So current has a stoppage somewhere in between from source to source. Clear the definition of fault, everyone? Now will you remember it? What do you mean by fault? It is a very simple definition: flow of current to an undesired or unintended path. Okay. Any doubt from anyone? So there are two types of fault that we consider for the analysis. One is called as the symmetrical fault, another is called as the unsymmetrical or asymmetrical fault. So a triple line fault is considered as a symmetrical fault. Yesterday I have said that I will discuss it when it comes to our discussion. And line to ground, line to line, and double line to ground are called as the unsymmetrical or asymmetrical. The difference between these two is that here, although there is a fault, still system remains in balance condition. What it means? Let's say we have a three-phase system with some value of the phase currents. Okay, 120 degree apart. I'm just drawing it randomly. Okay, not to the scale. Likewise. Okay. So under normal condition, this we know that VR equal to Vy equal to Vb, magnitude are equal and they are displaced by 120 degree with anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so they have equal magnitude and they are separated by 120 degree phase angle. What will happen in symmetrical fault is that when the three phases get short circuited, we will see in the next slide that how the three phase fault occur. Okay, so when this three phase fault occur, still there is a balance in the system. It means that the current will rise. Let's say if we draw the current, okay, let me draw it for the current, so rather than voltage, because let's say IR is equals to IY is equals to IB. Okay, and these are the current under normal conditions. Fine. So when a three phase fault occur, what will happen? All these three currents will rise, let's say 5 times. Okay, fault current is 5 times the normal current. So it will be 5 times in all three phases. Okay. So, and also the phase angle between them is 120. So what will happen? Even though there is a fault, the current will rise number of times than the normal load current, but still the system is operating in the balance condition. So we know that if we have a three-phase balance system, how we can analyze it? If we have a three-phase balance system, how we can analyze it? Any idea? Three-phase balance system can be analyzed on do we need to solve three equations if the system is in balance condition? What do you consider for the analysis? A three-phase balance system can be analyzed on single phase basis. Why? Because it is in the balance condition. If you yes, Viral, if you get the answer for any one phase, you already know what will be the answer for the other phase because they are in balance. It is only 120 degree difference between them. So symmetrical fault analysis is carried out as the system is in balance condition. System three phase analysis is carried out simply on single phase basis. because already system is in balance condition. Here in unsymmetrical fault, system is unbalanced. Why unbalanced? Because current will rise in any one, let's say single line to ground fault. What will happen? In two of the phases, current will be still normal, but in one of the phase, current will rise. Also, the phase angle between the, let's say, pre-fault and post-fault conditions may not be the same. Fine. Like, let's say this is pre-fault condition, IR, IY, IB, their magnitudes are same. Post-fault condition, if I draw, maybe like this. So it is unbalanced, you can see that, or maybe a line to line fault or double line to ground fault. So the change in current will not be same in all three phases here for this faults. And that is why system is unbalanced. Now in mathematics, have you studied any technique to solve unbalanced set of equation? Can you directly solve? Can you solve directly unbalanced set of equations? If I give you n number of unbalanced set of equations, can you solve it directly? Yes or no? No, I'm that is different part, Viral. I'm asking, can you solve it directly? Unbalanced set of equations. Correct, Nidhi? Okay, Milan. Fine. No, we cannot solve it. Yes, Paves. Yes, Ashok. Good. So we don't have technique to solve unbalanced set of equations if we have n number of equations, and that is why here the importance of symmetrical component theory comes. That it will convert any n set of unbalanced equation into n set of balanced equation, with each set having n variables. This is proposed. This was proposed by Fortescue way back more than 110 years back. It is a mathematical technique. Understand? It is proposed by a mathematician. Fortescue theorem. It is called as the Fortescue theorem. So what do? We use this. It can be used for any n set of equation. Okay, it is true for any n set of equation. However, we use it for three-phase system. If somebody asks you that if I have a six-phase system, can I apply symmetrical component theory? Yes, we can. In that case, we have six set of balance equation with each equation having six variables. Okay, IA0, IA1, IA2, IA3, IA4, IA5, IA6 likewise. Because here we have a three-phase system, we will have three set of equations from IA, IB, IC. We get IA0, IA1, IA2. And as this symmetrical component are balanced, so from that we can get IB0, IB1, IB2 if required, IC0, IC1, IC2. Okay, because these three are in balanced condition, we take only one from it. Okay, I hope you remember this, that when we convert this IA, IB0, IB1, IB2 from the phase quantity, when we derive this, so this are in balance. First, let me talk this IA1, IA1, IB1, IC1 having a sequence exactly equal same as the original phasors. Let's say IA, IB, IC. These are the original phasors. Unbalanced phasors. It is used for unbalanced condition only. Under balanced condition, nothing sort of this theory is required for us because it is already balanced. So let's say when we have a system like this IA, IB, for example, IC, it is unbalanced set of phases, or if represented in equation, can be resolved into these components IA1, IB1, IC1 balanced 120 degree apart, IA2, IC2, IB2. This is negative sequence. Okay, for the same rotation, and IA0, IB0, IC0 in phase. As they are balanced, we take only one component from each one and we write equation in terms of A phase. Okay, with appropriate operator. A is 1 at an angle 120. Okay, so the difference, the basic difference between unsymmetrical and symmetrical fault analysis is that here system is an unbalanced condition, and that is why you require symmetrical component theory to convert it into balanced set of equation. Here we do not require symmetrical component theory, it is already in the balanced condition, and the analysis can be carried out on the single phase basis per phase. Here we carry out per phase basis, but after converting it into balance set by using symmetrical component. Understand the difference between symmetrical and unsymmetrical fault? I hope it is clear now. Clear everyone? See, if you have any doubt, we can discuss at any time. Okay, feel free to ask your doubt anytime. Fine. So this is the basic difference between a symmetrical fault and unsymmetrical fault. Fine. Let me tell you one thing, that whatever we say, let's say positive, negative, zero sequence components, actually these components are the product of this mathematical analysis. Okay. In actual power system, there is no such components actually exist. There will be IA, IB, IC. But what do? We apply some mathematical technique over this, and we derive this we can say the components which have very similar effect of let's say actual phase quantities when we analyze, and that is why the analysis can be carried out using these components. It is as good as like if you have a signal and then you derive obtain the harmonic, and then you say that these are the number of harmonics present in the system. Actually, it is only single current waveform, which is we represent it by number of waveform, and we call it as the harmonics. So what do? We say that all these components are present in the system, but they are not present separately. They are actually part of this single waveform. Understand what I mean to say when I say the symmetrical components? They are actually derived from original IA, IB, IC. So in line, in power system, there will be phase quantities. Okay, actually physically I am saying this sequence component are the product of this symmetrical component, and as the effect is very similar, whatever is obtained from here we can compare them, and that is why we can use this. Understand what I mean to say? एक्चुअल लाइन में तो फेज क्वांटिटीज ही होंगे, IA, IB, IC ही होगा. जो हम सीक्वेंस कंपोनेंट डिराइव कर रहे हैं वो हम सिमेट्रिकल कंपोनेंट लगा के मैथमेटिकल टूल टेक्निक लगा के उसको हम बाद में डिराइव कर रहे हैं. एक्चुअल सिस्टम में ये IA, IB, IC ही रहेगा. ओके, नाउ very important point to understand that why do fault occur. So the reason for different faults are different, and that is why single line to ground fault, it mainly occurs in machines. If I say the failure of insulation between conductor and core, let's say here we have a conductor which is placed in a slot. for example, and there is a insulation around the conductor. Now, let's say it is a generator. So generator is continuously loaded, for example, over a long period of time, and there will be a continuous heating of the insulation. So over a period of time, due to aging effect, the insulation may get weakened, or due to overheating, let's say, the insulation may get weakened, deteriorates, and let's say fails. So what will happen? The conductor will come into contact with the core, and as we know that core of the machine is generally grounded, earth, for the safety reasons. So what will happen? The current will directly flow from conductor to ground, and that is what we call as the line to ground fault. Okay, correct, Rajesh. But generally in the large machines, it is actually the proper insulating material. Varnish may be there in very small machines. We are talking about very large machines, power generators used in the, let's say, power plants. Okay, some huge machines, megawatt ratings, where there is a proper insulating material around the phase conductor. Okay, then in transmission line, this time, okay, we have 5 minutes. In transmission line, same way in transformer. Okay, in transformer also, if there is a winding to core fault, it is a line to ground fault. And in induction motor is also same thing. When the insulation between a phase conductor and the body core fails, there will be a single line to ground fault. In transmission line, if everyone has seen the transmission system, physical transmission system, कैसे अरेंजमेंट होता है ट्रांसमिशन सिस्टम का, सबने देखा है that there is a tower depending upon the rating of line. So we have a tower structure like this. इसको क्या बोलेंगे हम? That is, this is a cross arm. And on the cross arm we have a insulator string, either porcelain insulator or nowadays there is a rubber insulators. And this is a phase conductor which is hanging over there. So this, it is like this, we say. So this is a phase conductor which is passing okay. Now suppose we have a 400 kV line. Okay, let me ask you, we have a 400 kV line. So this voltage is a line voltage or phase voltage? Suppose we have a 400 kV line. It is a line voltage or phase voltage? Yes, it is line voltage. So it is voltage between these two lines. Okay, let's say ABC. So it is 400 kV line. So what will be the per phase voltage then? What will be the per phase voltage? Yes. What will be the per phase voltage considering star connection? No idea. It is very simple. Yes, 230 kV. Correct, Naresh. 400 by root 3. So per phase voltage is 230 kV. Now this tower is generally grounded. Okay. So that whenever lightning strikes on the tower, let's say it is earth wire. So lightning strikes on the tower, whenever the lightning will be directly grounded safely, and we can save our costly equipment of the power system. So generally there is an earth wire which is at the top of the tower, covering the phase conductors and protecting against the lightning struck to the transmission line and enter power system. So what is potential of cross arm if it is grounded or earth? What is potential of cross arm? 0. Yes. Cross arm will be at 0 volt. Clear? What is potential of phase conductor? 230 kV. So what is difference here between the cross arm and phase conductor is 230 kV. There is a voltage. Fine. Now this I think have you studied how to select the number of disc? How to select the total number of discs depending upon the phase conductor? I think that will be the part of your power system 1, probably. Yes. So you have as a protection, let's say as a power system engineer, you have properly selected the number of insulator string disc in the string, and you have properly isolated the phase conductor from the cross arm. But sometimes what will happen? Yes, correct, Viral. But sometimes what will happen that so this is one insulator. Do you see any other insulating medium other than this disc? Very good, Viral. Anyone else? Apart from this insulator disc, do you see any other insulating material? Face to face is 400 kV, Naresh. Okay, Apurva, very good. No, I am saying insulating material. Do you see any insulating medium between tower and phase conductor? Yes, porcelain is there. It is insulator disc. So I'm already I have said that there is a insulator disc. Okay, porcelain or maybe silicon rubber or any other material. Okay, so this is one insulator you see between phase conductor and tower. I have a few good correct answers from let's say Milan, Apurv, sorry, from Milan, Apurv, and Viral. These three have given very correct answer. You imagine you are looking at transmission line, and do you see any other insulating material between phase conductor and the tower other than insulated disc? And you will get the answer. It is air. Got it? Air is also insulating material. It is insulating between. It acts as an insulator between phase conductor and the cross arm. Apart from insulated disc, I'm saying other than insulated disc. Okay, so I think time is about to complete. I will pause this session at this moment, a discussion, and we will continue our discussion from here in the next class. So please enter your enrollment number and do not leave the class until I have the screenshot of the participants. Okay, and you are requested to join the session within the 5 minutes. Considering your connectivity issue and other arrangements, uh, if the session is started and if it is more than 5 minutes, will not permit to join the session. Okay. Enter your enrollment number in the chat box, and then you can leave the class. You can join the other class. Have a good day. Thank you, everyone. If you have any doubt, we can discuss. Chirag, Jesabhai, and Pradeep, I have already instructed yesterday. Set your username with enrollment number and name. Yes, Ashok. I'm not getting. Okay, okay. Yes, you can. You can. Okay, with this I will end the session. I hope everyone has entered their number. So thank you everyone.